Hello, everyone. How's your New Year so far? I know it's a little late to say Happy New Year, but I might as well say it. This is the first video of 2022, and well, considering how people seem to enjoy my first video on inventing reality, I figured why not make it a series? Though, don't expect me to do these, often, considering I'll run out of material pretty quickly, and I have to save it for specific things that I'm interested in talking about. Now, this doesn't mean that I'll stop doing it. Consider this a replacement for the War on Nerds. I actually think discussing the political aspect of the various things that are, you know, fed to us under capitalist society, capitalist realism, late stage capitalism, I figured why not just start the new year off by talking about a certain franchise with a certain author who just can't help but say transphobic shit. Now, considering that I've do have experience with the Harry Potter series, I've read the first 5 books. I couldn't finish the series, but then again, that is because J.K. Rowling, her ideology was impossible to ignore, and I couldn't bring myself to enjoy the series knowing what kind of person she is. Yeah, there's awful people that have written, you know, good material. One of my favorite mangas, Roni Kenshin, written by a pedophile. But you know the difference between that series and Harry Potter? There's nothing there's nothing in Roni Kenshin that promotes pedophilia. And it's one of the rare occasions you can separate art from the artist. You can't do it very often, but it is possible. But Harry Potter is not that kind of series you can simply separate the art from the artist. One, J.K. Rowling is not dead like H.P. Lovecraft. Two, Harry Potter isn't going to be public domain in any of our lifetimes. So there's no way you could separate Harry Potter from J.K. Rowling until Harry Potter is public domain and people can write their own stories in this universe. You probably would be able to do a better job writing Harry Potter stories and actually do a meaningful story with Harry Potter. Because as it stands, Harry Potter, let's not kid ourselves and claim that, J.K. Rowling, used to be so progressive, used to be, her stories stand against racism, white supremacy, fascism. No, 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 no. If you actually believe Harry Potter actually is progressive, you're just fooling yourselves. Harry Potter is anything but progressive. Harry Potter is pretty reactionary the more you actually look into it. Now, if since I'm a Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, third worldist, let's just call myself a communist for short. I have noticed certain trends with certain things that I used to watch. Now, certain things I could probably justify enjoying it because, I might be able to just look at, okay, this is just a work of fiction. Yeah, it has an ideology it's pushing. Whatever. But Harry Potter, you cannot separate that because Harry Potter is the liberal manifesto. And I mean that in the literal sense. I didn't read the series when it was coming out, but I've heard a lot of people do not like the ending for the Deathly Hollows or the Deathly Hollows in general and if they write fan fiction of Harry Potter, they ignore it. But here's one thing people fail to realize. Harry Potter could not have ended any differently than it did. Why? Okay, let's before we even get to that, I'm going to talk about Harry Potter as a whole. Harry Potter the very concept of Harry Potter in general is very elitist, racist, and not to mention eugenic as fuck. Like, when we're first introduced to Harry Potter, the character, he lives in a middle class household. His life is shit. He lives in forced to live in in a closet, and then eventually it's abandoned after the first book. I feel like the only part of Harry Potter where the character of Harry is relatable is the beginning of the novel, when before we are introduced to the wizarding world from Harry's perspective. It is the only point in the series I feel like you can relate to Harry if you feel alienated from your family. And then that Harry, the Harry, who had some things intriguing about him, was gone as soon as Hagrid appeared and revealed to him that he's a wizard. And whatever sympathy you could have for Harry is gone, because you find out that his dad is kind of wealthy and was wealthy, and it made you think, wait, did Harry? Okay, yeah, his life with the Dursleys, it was shit. But every other book after the first one, and by the way, I'm mostly going to talk about the books here because that's the source material, and lots of Potterheads like to claim, oh, the movies ruined the books. The books are so much better. The books and the movies are pretty much the same, but I'm mainly going to refer to the books. The Dursleys, despite how badly they may have treated, Harry's life wasn't that bad compared to many other people, who grew up in a similar circumstance, who were poor. I mean, a Harry Potter from a working class background would definitely be a character I'd be invested in, but he's not. He's from a middle class background. He was raised middle class. And as the series progresses, you have that mentality reflected, with the character of Harry. Like, he isn't relatable at all. And don't throw that excuse, oh, it's for children, so of course it's not relatable to adults. I'm sorry, but that's not an excuse for a series with a disgusting and elitist message. And if you really think about it, Harry Potter as a whole, the series, every book is pretty much the same. If you've read the first book, you've pretty much read the entire series, because not much really changes from a story perspective. Yeah, some minor details may be different, with the exception of Goblet of Fire and the Deathly Hallows. Every book pretty much is the same in terms of its plot structure. And what little differences between the movies and the books, yeah, I'm aware of the changes they made to, Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix and the Half-Blood Prince. But is it really that substantial where there isn't much of a difference between the movies and the books? Everything that people complained about being cut from the movies, it's just shit that doesn't fucking matter. I mean, J.K. Rowling, if you really look deep into her books, it's very shallow in terms of how it's written. The world building is crap. And of course, I know it's a little all over the place, but since I'm not doing this scripted, I'm just explaining it as I go. And Harry, as a character, he is so boring. I know some people make that excuse, oh, he's meant to be the reader. I'm sorry, but that's not a character. And not to mention, like, one of the plot lines, which is not in the movies, which is they probably removed it for a reason because it would have been offensive. And those who've read the books will know when I'm talking about the house elf, plot line, and I forgot which book it was, where Hermione, fights for their rights and is mocked by Harry and Ron. It's disgusting. And you know what? the retcon that J.K. Rowling makes of Hermione being black, this makes it even more egregious, even more racist. Because think about it. If Hermione chronologically is black and she's being mocked for fighting for, the rights of slaves, think of the context here. Think of how racist this is. J.K. Rowling is so tone deaf. Even before she came out with these, trans, anti-trans rhetoric you see on Twitter regularly, she's been saying some pretty bigoted shit before that. Making Hermione black and having her be mocked for fighting for elves' rights, guess what? That makes it even worse. That's basically making fun of the struggles and the trauma that descendants of slaves still suffer from. It is disgusting. It really is disgusting. Yeah, I'll get to that, actually. This is all over the place, but whatever. This is a stream after all. Think about this. A black Hermione fighting for the rights of house elves, and let's be honest here, she wasn't originally black. She was white, just like everybody else in the series. But if you make her black, like J.K. Rowling says, oh, she's black because of the cursed child, guess what? You make that plot line even more racist by doing that. Yes, it was problematic. It was racist. It was essentially downplaying the effects of slavery and basically mocking the very idea of emancipation. And don't give me that bullshit. Oh, it's just a fantasy series, Darcenovia. Why are you being so serious? Well, sorry, but what is this stream called? Inventing reality. The kind of reality that J.K. Rowling is feeding to children as they're reading these books about, fighting for emancipation is not really that serious. Oh, if these people are happy in their lot in life, why do you care about fighting for them? And of course, I know someone's gonna bring up the elephant in the room. Oh, what about the Jewish, goblins? Oh God, that is a can of worms I don't even want to even touch because, yeah, it's probably the most egregious thing in Harry Potter. But I'll talk about that way later in the stream about J.K. Rowling's hypocritical, stance against anti-Semitism when you have anti-Semitic caricatures. Anyway, I'm going to save that later in this stream because I'm just getting started. Now, why am I spending so much time with the House Elves, plot line? Because by making Hermione black, you are actually making this plot line more racist than it actually was when it was originally written. And this part of the novel, when I was reading it, I felt uncomfortable. I really did feel uncomfortable with this part of the novel because it's like, why is she doing this? Why is this so bad? Hermione is pretty base for actually fighting for elves' rights. Why is she being mocked? And of course, this plot line's abandoned, of course, eventually. But it just seems like J.K. Rowling just mocks the idea of emancipation movements. It's just disgusting. Then again, what can you expect from a Brit? A person that has benefited from British colonialism. And let's not even get started on the characters in the series that, the little characters of color that do exist in the Harry Potter world. They have the most stereotypical name, like Xiao Chang. Oh, God. That's like, I don't even want to, that is extremely racist because she's like the only, Asian character in the entire novel. And has the most stereotypical, Chinese name. It is racist. And I don't understand how anyone who claims that, we can still enjoy Harry Potter because, we can't let, our memories be tainted by J.K. Rowling. I'm sorry. to break this to you. I really am. Harry Potter is racist. Harry Potter is elitist too. And you can't justify enjoying that and, without looking at J.K. Rowling. You cannot separate Harry Potter from J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling, it makes sure that can't happen. That can't happen, as long as she's alive. Oh, God, that makes it even worse. That makes it even more racist then. That makes it even more racist. Because it reinforces stereotypes to mostly white readers of Harry Potter that, there is no difference between various different Asian cultures. They all are the same. They all look the same. That's what J.K. Rowling is pushing. And, I know I'm like going on a tangent here, but this house elf subplot that existed in the books, plus the stereotypical names, this is all connected. This is all within the books themselves. And yeah, some of this stuff was toned down in the films, like the house elf plot. I guess if there's one thing I will give the movies credit for, some of the most egregious things from the books are not in the movies. But it doesn't change the fact that the overall story of Harry Potter is in the films. And of course, I did read something before I did this stream about, you know how Muggles are looked at in Harry Potter? I know this is a stretch, but think about this. How do British people, at least the British elites, how they look at people in the third world? Think about it. How they look at people in the third world. Uncivilized, stupid, and needs civilizing. How are Muggles looked by the wizards in Harry Potter? Stupid, strange, primitive. And the very concept of purebloods and whatever, that's elitist too. I mean, Harry is supposed to be our protagonist. He's supposed to be a character that we're supposed to be following for 7 books. And I'm bringing up the books mainly. And none of the things that are the problem in the Wizarding world are ever challenged. The persecution of Muggleborns, squibs. For those of you who don't know what a squib is, which the movies don't really touch on them that much, a squib is essentially a person that has has full-blood parents, but they're born without any magical ability. They're treated like, second-class citizens. And that is disgusting within itself. And that's not challenged in Harry Potter. Like, the very fact that Harry, doesn't actually fight for these people's rights just shows that Harry isn't out for anyone but the people of his own class. Yeah, it is a class dynamic between wizards that can use magic and wizards who were born, without magic. They're looked as no different from Muggleborns. And it's disgusting because it really shows the mentality that J.K. Rowling has towards certain sects of people. It's very neoliberal of her. And let's just talk about another thing that I find ridiculous about Harry Potter. Why are the Wesleys poor, or Weasleys, whatever you want to call them? Why are they all poor? The very concept of the wizards, who are not even a big percentage of the population, is like, have you been around friggin' poor people, J.K. Rowling? I doubt it. The Weasleys are like an example of somebody that has never spent time with poor people and don't understand how they think or how they live their lives, and betray people who are middle class, essentially. They may be like not have as much money as everyone else, but they're poor. No, they're not poor. Come on. Everybody in fucking Hogwarts comes from a middle class background at the very least. They're not fucking poor in the slightest. You have to have to be part of some form of elite background, at least, or upper class background, at least, to be even in Hogwarts. Yeah, they don't. Exactly. Hermione, their friend. And what makes this even worse, if you recontextualize Hermione as being black, that makes her treatment even worse. It's like, I can't believe I keep pointing this out. Making Hermione black is possibly one of the things that is probably makes the Harry Potter series even more racist, because her treatment by the wizards, in Hogwarts that resent Muggleborns, even more racist, because if she's black and they treat her even worse than her white, peers, that's fucking white supremacy in action. Good job, J.K. Rowling. Good job. You essentially have made Hermione a victim of white supremacy because freaking you wanted to fucking win some woke points. Well, guess what? It means jack shit. And honestly, okay, let's be real. Is there really much of a difference between Harry and Voldemort? Because at the end of the story, Harry and his friends overcome Voldemort, defeat his movement, yet not much really changes at the end of Harry Potter. The wizarding world is the same as before. The enslavement of the house elves still exists. The treatment of Muggleborns still exists. Squibs are still treated as second-class citizens. The Muggles are still, looked down on. It's like that. You can't pick a more, fitting ending for a series written by a liberal, and that is nothing changes. Yeah, some small things might have changed here and there, but none of the characters actually changed the world for the better. In fact, some of them, this is just into joining the very system that created the problems in the first place. Harry becomes a cop, so does Hermione. And let's just talk about this here. How in the living mother of hell are wizards oppressed in Harry Potter? The very concept of them being oppressed is insane. They could freaking literally conquer the entire world in a few hours with the amount of power that they have. Yeah, John Williams' score is great, and I'm not going to take that away from John Williams. Yeah, and let's not even get started. I'm not even gotten started on fucking Snape yet. It's like, holy shit. And I know that I'm talking about this stuff out of order pretty much, but again, when you're talking about fucking the ideology of Harry Potter, you kind of have to, do that. Because Harry Potter, at its core, is not progressive, it's reactionary. And for those of you who want to know the origin of read another book meme, it's when people on the internet, during the Trump fucking administration, constantly made references to Harry Potter. Like, bring up, the people who support Trump and Trump be the equivalent of Death Eaters. It's like, no, there's nothing deep about Harry Potter. There's nothing deep about Harry Potter. And I'm going to repeat myself. There is nothing deep about Harry fucking Potter. There's nothing deep about it. And for all those, people that it's like claim that, oh, Harry Potter is very progressive, very left wing. What are you talking about, Darth Zenobia? Okay. If it was left wing, why does it actually criticize the power structures that exist in Hogwarts? Why does it reinforce capitalism? Why does it reinforce everything that has actually created all the problems in that world in the first place? Because liberals, the way they look at the world, They don't believe anything should change. And I don't know if I have to explain this to anyone, but there's little difference between conservatism and liberalism. Liberalism is the left of conservatism, but it's still conservatism at its core. Conservatives don't believe in changing anything, neither do liberals. They're both the same. You progressive? I'll tell you what progressive is. To be a progressive, you have to believe, uncompromising, believe that a capitalism needs to be dismantled. You have to be for LGBTQ rights, women, people, the people of color, and a real progressive also is against capitalism, is against imperialism, is against fascism. That is being a progressive. And I don't even like using the word progressive. Let's just call these people who actually advocate for these things, let's just call us socialists, communists, anarchists. That's what we believe. We're not fucking progressive because progressive is a meaningless term. It doesn't mean a fucking thing. And I want to get back to the topic of Harry Potter. Yeah, but the world building in Harry Potter is shit. It fucking is shit. Tell me, what world building do you have in Harry Potter? What world building? What world building? Because according to the Harry Potter world, nothing outside of Hogwarts exists. Nothing. And when you go outside of Hogwarts, which is what most of the Deathly Hallows is where the problems of the world building come from. Like, none of the books have really any connective tissue. Like, none of the plot lines that are introduced in any of these books go anywhere. They're just ignored, or it's finished by the end of that specific book. And whatever cuts the Harry Potter movies had to make, well, good. And whatever problems the movies have when it comes to the, continuity, it's not the movie's fault that the books fucking have shit world building and shit continuity. The book, is the problem. The movies are working with shitty source material. And the source material that the movies have to work with, guess what? Whatever problems the movies, may have, it's because of the books themselves. And let's be honest here. When it comes to, the movies, I actually would think the movies are better than the books. And here's why. Because the most egregious aspects of the Harry Potter series are not present in the movies. They're not present in the movies. They're not. The most egregious part of those fucking books are not in the movies. Most, the House Elves plotline is cut from the movie. And I don't know about the Half-Blood Prince or Deathly Hallows, what minor stuff was cut. I don't know. But I'm just saying, yeah, the movies have their problems because they still are pushing the ideology of J.K. Rowling. But at least the worst aspects of those books are gone. And it is ableist and racist. And I did talk about the racist part of it. But ableist, oh God, definitely yes. It definitely is ableist. It definitely is. Like, I mean, think about how they, treat people who have any sort of disability in Harry Potter. They're usually laughed at or mocked, like, or how overweight people are like treated in Harry Potter. I mean, fucking Christ. Like, the fat phobia in the Harry Potter series is very apparent in there. I mean, good God. And I think Harry Potter in general is when you look at it, separate yourself from it. And I'm speaking it for people who are still trying to justify loving a reactionary series that reinforces, stereotypes, reinforces racist caricatures, reinforces anti-Semitic caricatures of Jews in the series, or racist names or the stereotypical names. You cannot separate this from Harry Potter. And J.K. Rowling, hasn't been able to find much success outside of Harry Potter. Why? Because nobody gives a shit about her other works. And most of her support that she gets now, that she gets now is by the far fucking right. And they don't even fucking care about Harry Potter. They like J.K. Rowling. I'm going by both the likes of the quartering and whatnot. They like her because she says the things that offends the left, because she stands against the left. That's the only reason the right like J.K. Rowling. Now, if you think honestly that J.K. Rowling, isn't on the right, you haven't been paying attention. Who supports her? The right. Who is she associated with? What kind of articles does she share? She shares articles that have ties to far-right organizations in her home country. And anyone that actually gets offended by the fact that, J.K. Rowling's being erased from Harry Potter, no, sit the fuck down. J.K. Rowling is all over Harry Potter. You're not going to get her removed. So sit the fuck down for any right-winger that pretends to care about Harry Potter. Sit the fuck down. Read a fucking book. Read the books for fuck's sake. Her ideology, the ideology that you fucking shill for, is all over Harry Potter. If you were smart enough to actually recognize the racism, the reinforce of power structures, you would realize J.K. Rowling is no different from you. But what's actually ironic is Professor Umbridge is literally the best character of Harry Potter. Okay, I know I'm going to get a lot of people. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Darth Sinovia? Harry Potter, the characters as a whole are just boring, shallow characters that don't, okay, what can you actually say about what their character trait is? What do they have? Umbridge, yeah, she's the most hated character in Harry Potter. But she's at least a character. She at least has motivations that seem interesting. And you know what? There are people like Umbridge in the real world, and the very writer that fucking wrote the character is Umbridge. But she's worse than Umbridge ever was. Why? Because unlike Umbridge, J.K. Rowling is not regulated into pages of a book. She actually exists. She's exactly like that character. Racist, elitist, gaslighting people. I mean, you can't name a single character in Harry Potter that represents J.K. Rowling better than Umbridge does. And you know what? Another thing that makes J.K. Rowling, dangerous is, and don't get me started, she has an opinion, man. Get over it. When you have millions of followers on Twitter and you're saying some racist and transphobic shit, and homophobic too, that's going to reach a lot of people, and those people are going to be influenced by it. And for those who are wondering, what do you mean by transphobic? J.K. Rowling's transphobia affects people, both men. I'm going by LGBTQ, for both men and women that have masculine or feminine, features. Those people are going to be treated as trans, even if they're not, because of J.K. Rowling. Because there are women that do exist that do have masculine features they'll suffer transphobia because of people like J.K. Rowling. Because if you don't look like a woman or whatever they perceive as a woman in their eyes, they're going to be treated as a trans person, even if they don't identify as trans. Or if there's a man, whether they're LGBTQ or not, that looks feminine, they'll be treated as a trans woman. That is what's disgusting about, J.K. Rowling's, entire fucking deranged rant on Twitter against trans people. And anyone that all the simps out there that's not like, oh my God, the trans activists, dox J.K. Rowling. You know what? I don't fucking care if they did. And here's why. J.K. Rowling is fucking rich, insanely rich. One of the richest people in the fucking world. I have no sympathy for this woman. I have none. If she gets doxxed, so fucking what? So what? And if people are like, oh, Dark Sinovia, is heartless. He doesn't care about people getting, doxxed. You know what? You're right. If they're rich and they have the means to move from another, mansion, yeah, fuck J.K. Rowling. She can move anywhere she wishes. She's not fucking, like a poor fucking trans person that gets doxxed by fucking people that fucking follow J.K. Rowling. Fuck her. I mean, seriously. My sympathy goes to people who are the poor, the lumpen. I have sympathy for them because those are where most of the trans community are. I don't give a fuck about somebody like J.K. Rowling getting doxxed. Fuck her. She can like move to another fucking mansion if she wants to afterwards. And it's not like her fucking mansion, what do you want to call that fucking thing? What wasn't fucking public knowledge in the first place? This is just J.K. Rowling playing the victim because that's all she fucking does. She's just like every other right winger out there, playing the victim, gaslighting her victims. And yeah, I'm interchanging between J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter because I'm trying to make it a point that Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling are inseparable. I don't care how much you love Harry Potter. I don't care how much you hold those memories deep in your heart. We need to let go. All of us. Now, luckily, it's easier for me than is for a Potterhead because I have never been a hardcore Harry Potter fan. I enjoyed the movies when I watched them. I read the first 5 books because I wanted to read the source material and stopped. Sometimes, you have to let go of the things you love. You really do. If you actually have a conscience and you actually have morals, sometimes you're going to have to let go of the things that you love. And if you love Harry Potter, then I'm sorry, but your memories is something that you should never throw away. If you have fond memories of Harry Potter because it helped you at a time of your life where you needed something like that, those memories will always be there. But you cannot, in good conscience, still be a fan of this series if you know who J.K. Rowling is. And let's be honest here, there's so much other fantasy series you can read besides Harry Potter. There's other stuff that's better than Harry Potter. And realistically, J.K. Rowling is never going to change. She's going to continue to say her shit on Twitter, still say her racist shit, still add, crap in the canon that after the fact. And I should have brought this up, and I'm going to bring this up now, like Dumbledore being gay. Which, what the fuck does that add to the story? When there was nothing in the text of Harry Potter of Dumbledore being gay. It's another form of revisionism. Now, I'm getting close to the end of this stream, but I'm just going to say this and reiterate. J.K. Rowling is not only a racist, she's a white supremacist, and she's a fascist that has support from all these groups. Now, someone who lives in the UK would know more than I do about the impact that J.K. Rowling has on and people in British society. Now, I'm speaking as someone who lives on the other side of the globe, who has seen the impact that J.K. Rowling has on the online sphere, the geek sphere, and she has support from right-wing grifters like The Quartering, Geeks and Gamers, and many others. Anyone that disingenuously wants to call J.K. Rowling one of the greatest authors is fucking delusional. Seriously, you motherfuckers, read another fucking book. There's like tons of women that have written great fantasy literature. And I want to experience them. I have nothing against women who write great fucking books. Most of what I've, even though I've read a lot of Star Wars books and Star Trek, some of the greatest Star Wars novels and Star Trek that I've read were written by women. In fact, I'm going to go out of my way to find freaking stuff that's written by women. Hell, fucking some of the greatest stories that I've read were written by women. Fucking J.K. Rowling, people giving credit to this talentless hack. It's like, are you really going to tell me that she's the greatest author, female author? Give me a fucking break. Maybe in the UK she might be, because you might not have any author worth a damn. But then again, I refuse to believe that is even true, that there aren't women in the UK that fucking haven't written some good fucking stories. J.K. Rowling is only recognized by these simps because she's the most financially successful. Fuck that. J.K. Rowling has everything handed to her on a silver platter. Literally. She's a white woman that doesn't understand the racism and sexism that people of color, go through. She doesn't understand fucking anything. I mean, her entire fucking world of Harry Potter is a representative of her disgusting ideology. Like, Harry stands for nothing. He doesn't care about people that aren't fucking white, that don't look like him, aren't in the same class. Hermione, who is now black, is now a racist, caricature of a black girl who gets emotional at one point in the series because of the house elves and how that brings back trauma of her of slavery, or the elitism by the Wizarding World. I mean, Harry's life wasn't really that bad. I mean, my God, he's the chosen one. The chosen one is literally a fucking someone that's born privileged. I mean, come on. Yeah, she did. I know that. J.K. Rowling is disgusting. Harry Potter, it's been in this stuff from the very start. J.K. Rowling, and I'm just going to bring this up, she's a fucking anti-Semite. Anyone that equates Jews with Israel is an anti-Semite. And it should be shocking that she's an anti-Semite. Just look at the goblins. Look at the goblins and look at Nazi, propaganda art, how they depict Jews. There isn't literally a difference. And for those of you who are going to say, "Oh, J.K. Rowling did not approve of the way those goblins look in the movies," if she did it, then why did she fucking say anything? J.K. Rowling was heavily involved in the movies. Whatever she didn't like, she would, basically veto it or say no. She didn't. She had no problem with the way the goblins looked. And here's the thing that's another that's disgusting, and it reinforces racism and anti-Semitism. Why aren't the goblins, in Hogwarts? Why aren't they allowed to attend if they're just as intelligent as the humans of that world, and is just as capable of being a powerful wizard? In fact, more powerful in a lot of instances than the humans of that world. Why aren't the house elves who have a similar ability, why aren't they allowed to attend Hogwarts? Oh, wait, because J.K. Rowling is a fucking racist who is using those types of characters to actually reinforce how she views the world, how she thinks the world should be. And call it a stretch. I do think J.K. Rowling has anti-Semitic views against Jews. I mean, why else would she be pushing like freaking Jewish identity linking to Israel? If she was sincere about fighting anti-Semitism, she wouldn't fucking be associating with anti-trans movements who are anti-Semitic. Don't fucking tell me that J.K. Rowling is innocent. Oh, she doesn't know this. She didn't know. It's like, yeah, she did. Come on, stop treating J.K. Rowling with fucking kids' glove. J.K. Rowling is clearly a fucking racist and an anti-Semite. She wouldn't put that shit in her story if she wasn't aware of it. And isn't it funny that the biggest simps for Harry Potter, those who still, go out of their way to defend it, are people that are unable to let go, the liberals. Seriously, people, read another book. Harry Potter, there is nothing special about Harry Potter. All of its themes, all its characters, its story, all those archetypes that were done in Harry Potter have been done better in other works. The Chosen One concept, in fact, has been done better in works by Robert Jordan. And in case you're wondering, I'm referring to the Wheel of Time series. Or by George Lucas in Star Wars. I mean, or freaking anything. Harry Potter is not even original either. There is just nothing redeeming about this series. I don't care if you're going to claim, of course it's bad. It's because it's for kids. No, it's bad because it's bad. Harry Potter, the very fact that this is considered something that's acceptable to children, I don't think Harry Potter should be allowed in any fucking school. I don't think kids should be reading Harry Potter. I don't think so. Harry Potter is one of those stories that I think should be banned everywhere. Call me harsh. Don't fucking give a shit. Every form of art is propaganda, one way or another. It isn't just some piece of entertainment that you could simply dismiss. Everybody, no exceptions, is influenced by the stuff that they're exposed to. And the very fact that Harry Potter is a children's novel is another reason we should be fucking heavily against J.K. Rowling. Because her fucking ideology, her disgusting racist ideology is in that fucking book, and children are exposed to that every single time they read Harry Potter. You care about our kids? You want our kids to have a better future? You want our kids to actually stop being prejudiced? Fucking ban works by J.K. Rowling. I'm serious. J.K. Rowling, she didn't get canceled. She fucking, she should fucking feel accountability. Am I authoritarian? I don't care. I will admit that I'm authoritarian when it comes to this shit. If we want to build a better society, certain works need to fucking be banned. But that's a topic for a different time, because that's going to devolve into something that isn't even related to the topic of this stream. Harry Potter, any country that bans Harry Potter, I think is based in my book. But only for the right reasons. I recall back when Harry Potter was getting popular that there was a lot of schools that banned Harry Potter. Unfortunately, they didn't ban it for the fucking right reasons. They did it because of stupid, crazy shit like witchcraft. Instead of banning Harry Potter because, look at all these racist caricatures of Jews and black people or Asian people. Let's not ban it for that reason. Let's ban it because of stupid reason. Harry Potter, The only reason anyone should read Harry Potter at all is a case study on what liberalism does to a society and how liberalism influences entertainment. Harry Potter is a series that doesn't stand for anything. It doesn't have a message. It's mean in spirit. It talks down. It enables ableism, racism, and the author of the Harry Potter series doesn't deserve anyone's respect. She doesn't deserve anybody's, sympathy or empathy. She deserves nothing but your contempt. Read another fucking book, for the love of God. I beg of you, read another book. Please.